Ever had a child throw a tantrum or lash out for what seems like no reason? As a childcare director, you know this can be beyond frustrating. But guess what? Kids don't just act out for fun. There's always a reason behind it. And in today's episode, we're going to uncover the root causes of challenging behaviors so you can stop reacting and start understanding. And it's time to get to the bottom of the drama. Thank you for tuning in to the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Sacosio. And before we go on, I want to just say, excuse me, hello to my listeners in Rhode Island. So I am so excited. We have folks tuning in from Jamestown, from Providence, from West Warwick, from North Providence, from Cranston, and of course, my home city, Warwick. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is so cool to see some of my local roadies tuning into the show. So let's talk about maybe what we really need to look for. So we're going to look at environmental, emotional, and developmental triggers that can lead to challenging behaviors. You see, children's behavior just doesn't appear out of nowhere. Often it's direct response to their surroundings, their emotional state, or where they are developmentally. And understanding these triggers gives you the power to prevent or minimize outbursts before they happen. So let's break it down. Environmental triggers. Noise and chaos. A noisy, cluttered, or unpredictable environment can be overwhelming, especially for younger children. Loud sounds or lots of movement can cause anxiety, leading to meltdowns or outbursts. Lack of predictability. Children thrive on routine, we know that. And when a day feels too chaotic or when transitions are not clear from one activity to another, children may act out to regain some sense of control. And of course, the physical space. You want to walk around. Are spaces overcrowded? Are the spaces too small? Or are they disorganized? Because when they are, that also creates frustration. And it may lead to competition for space. And we all know, especially in the toddler rooms, that means aggression. And emotional triggers, unresolved emotions. Kids might not yet have the words to express how they feel. So frustration, sadness, or anger can come out as defiant behaviors. For example, a child might lash out if they feel that they are left out of a group. Even if they don't understand why they're feeling upset, because often we'll tell them use their words, but sometimes they don't have the words. There's also separation anxiety. Children in early childhood may have heightened fear of being away from their parents or their caregivers. And this anxiety can cause them to act out when they get dropped off at school. So it's so important for us to really try to help children start the day right. Feel safe, feel loved, feel nurtured. And then there's those developmental triggers. Maybe they're struggling with milestones. Children in early childhood are still learning how to regulate their emotions, how to share with their peers, or to deal with challenges. And it's natural for kids to have difficulties during this stage, but sometimes it just comes out as negative behavior. And learning boundaries. Young children may challenge authority or boundaries simply because they're testing limits, not out of rebellion. They're just starting to learn what is acceptable behavior. And your consistent response teaches them what's appropriate. And remember, they're going to get a reaction from you, positive or negative. So make sure that we're very intentional on what we're responding to. Here are some actionable tips that you can use with your staff. Let's do some environmental adjustments. Create a calm, predictable environment where children feel safe. This includes maintaining a constant and consistent daily routine, using soft lighting, reducing distractions, or providing calming areas for breaks. And emotional awareness activities. Maybe you can use an emotional checklist or check-ins at the start of each day, like how are you feeling today? And for kids who don't have words, emotion charts with faces or feeling thermometers can help children understand and express their emotions. And these types of tools help all children in the classroom, not just children who may be having challenging behaviors, but all children. And developmental support. Create a space for kids to experiment and practice new developmental milestones, such as sharing or waiting for their turn, or for gentle guidance and patience during these learning moments. Taking turns is so hard and waiting is so hard. I mean, think about you as an adult and you're, waiting to turn onto the main road and no one lets you, pull into the main lane. You get super frustrated, right? Um, it's the same thing for kids, they have a much shorter tolerance for how long they can wait. But I mean, I know driving with my husband, he doesn't like to wait too long to get, to the left lane or the right lane, right? So we can even think about that and resonate with that as adults. Like we even have a hard time waiting a turn. Second thing I want to talk about is tips on observation and tracking behavior to spot patterns. Here's what you need to know. When it comes to understanding and addressing challenging behaviors, observation is your best tool. Simply reacting to a behavior won't give you the full picture. By tracking and observing, you can uncover patterns, identify triggers, and craft strategies to address the behavior before it escalates. I mean, I have to tell you, when I write down observations, you can normally, over a period of time, certain times of the day that a child may get a little more anxious. I know at pickup time is one of those times. If you're a child who's getting picked up last or close to last each day, every time that doorbell rings, they get a little more anxious when it's not their mom, dad, or parent or guardian. And so we have to acknowledge that. And if there are children that we know that this is a time of day, they get a little more heightened, we have to be strategic about how will we engage that child so they're not paying attention to every time the doorbell rings or every time another adult comes to pick up a classmate. Some actionable tips that you can take is you can start a behavioral log for each child. And the log should definitely include a time and date. Is there a time of the day where the behavior occurs more frequently than others? And I'll tell you, to me, I think it's drop-off time, pickup time, snack time, after nap, right? You're going to see a pattern. And then also, what are the triggers? Like maybe what happened just before the behavior occurred? Was it a transition? Was it a specific activity or a specific interaction with the peer? Some children don't always click together. You want to think about how you respond and how the child responds. Ask yourself, how did the child react? What was their emotional state? And how did they calm down? Or how was the situation escalated? Here's an example. Let's say 9:15. Emily threw her toy across the room. She became upset when she was told it was time to clean up. She calmed down right after a brief 5-minute break with the sensory toy. So look for patterns. After tracking the behaviors for a few days or weeks, start looking for consistent pattern. When does the behavior happen most frequently? What's happening right before the behavior? Is there a sensory trigger like noise, light? How does the child typically calm down? I have one child in particular who definitely has some emotional deregulation. And sometimes she just needs to take a walk to move to a different space. And within a minute, almost instantly, she's able to calm down. You can also do some behavior mapping. Once you've gathered enough data, map out the behavior, including your triggers, the emotional states, and the calming techniques. This map can help both you and your team respond more proactively. And some actionable strategies for staff. Consistent documentation Encourage your staff to document their observations regularly. Even short notes or checklists can be helpful for tracking behavior over time, and then this information will give you some strategies to help support your team. Of course, using visual tools is something that helps everyone. For staff collaboration, try creating a simple behavior chart or a board to track patterns and triggers. This will allow the entire team to stay on the same page, especially if you have substitutes or you have folks that come in during lunchtime to cover the teachers or your openers, your closers. Really use this data-driven interaction. When you use information to suggest specific interactions, for example, if you notice a child struggles after snack time, it might be helpful to give them a more structured downtime. Let's talk about attachment and trauma, or even sensory sensitivities that might be influencing a child's actions and how you want to address them. You see, some children's behavior is rooted in deep issues like attachment disruptions, trauma, sensory sensitivities, and these factors can make everyday activities or transitions overwhelming and lead to behavioral challenges. I know I live with one of those children, and I have for many, many years. Actually, at this point, two of those, two children that have a hard time with transitions. We have to recognize these. These underlying factors help you respond with empathy and create a more supportive environment. And attachment issues. Children with attachment disruptions might experience separation anxiety, clinging behaviors, or difficulty trusting caregivers. They often act out to communicate fear, frustration, or they just need comfort. And I'm really good at that one. I really, really am. Sometimes the teachers get frustrated with me because I can walk up to a child, breathe with them, co-regulate, give them a hug, and they will instantly turn it around. It is a skill that I have built. And these strategies that I'm sharing, I know work because I've used them with my own children at home. I've used them with children in my centers, and I continue to use them today. To be quite honest, I sometimes use these with adults too, but we won't tell that. But attachment is something that's real. And trauma, we absolutely get many, many referrals from the state for foster children or adoptive children. And we know that children who have been exposed to trauma, whether it's neglect, abuse, significant loss, may react with aggression or withdrawal or emotional outbursts. Trauma can affect their ability to trust and feel safe in new environments, making transitions and group settings difficult. Also, sensory sensitivities. Some children may have sensory sensitivities, meaning that they are easily overwhelmed by certain sights, by certain sounds, textures, even smells. I'm definitely very scent oriented. Those who know me will tell you. They kind of call me a hound dog. I can smell anything a mile away. But these sensitivities can result in behaviors like covering their ears or running away or becoming overstimulated when they're exposed to certain environments or activities. So pay attention. And attachment-based interactions. Think about how can you intervene? Well, you want to be consistent. You want to be predictable and gentle with children who have attachment issues. Reassure them with warm words and physical comfort, like a hug, a pat on the back, or a high five, or something that's predictable, a routine that offers security. Offer a transitional object, like maybe a small toy or a blanket. That might help ease separation for them. And understand trauma-informed care. With trauma survivors, creating a soft, calm environment is key. Allow for sensory breaks. Give children extra time for transitions. And avoid pushing them too hard too soon. Always use positive reinforcement and avoid punitive measures. And we all hear it. If you don't listen now, you're not getting XYZ. Instead of positive reinforcement. I know that you really love coloring right now. I know that's your favorite activity. Here's what we can do. Give some choices. It is time to go outside. We can bring the crayons outside, or we can put the crayons right here. So when we come in from outside, you can continue to color. So, acknowledging where the child's at and reinforcing with positive. Making sure you have sensory friendly spaces. Make your classroom sensory friendly by incorporating quiet areas, fidget tools, weighted blankets, noise canceling headphones, or calming music. I love calming music because it doesn't just calm the child who's having a hard time, it calms the entire classroom. It sets a different mood, including for the staff. And you want to educate your staff on recognizing sensory overload and how to guide children to these spaces when needed. Here are some strategies that you can give to your staff. One, you want to provide training for staff on recognizing the signs of attachment issues and trauma. For example, a child who struggles with eye contact or becomes overwhelmed with physical touch may be dealing with attachment difficulties. So setting up an individualized strategy for children with sensory sensitivities would help. And work with parents to understand specific triggers and solutions, such as using noise canceling headphones or allowing extra quiet time. Empower your team to build trusting relationships with children. Sometimes just offering a quiet moment of connection can significantly reduce the challenging behavior. Now, I just want to spend a minute here because, and I will include myself in this, as directors, we want to help our teachers, and we'll often go in and we'll do that relationship building with that child, but we're really not in the room all the day. So maybe it makes more sense for us as directors, for us to take the children who are listening, maybe, at story time, and allow that teacher time away from the larger group to build a strong relationship with that child and allow them to do a little bit of one-on-one. It's just one additional strategy you could try, because oftentimes the child who isn't listening is sent to you as a director, which is why they will listen to you normally within a minute, or they will calm down for you within a minute, because they have been conditioned to know that when they're having big feelings, that they can go to you and you will help support them and make them feel safe. And so maybe, a little role reversal once in a while to also give the teacher that ability to build that trust with that child. Just some food for thought. As we start to wrap up, I want to talk about a couple more things. As a childcare director, fostering a team that understands why and how each child is unique and their unique needs are critical for success. When your staff understands the why behind the behaviors, they can create individual support plans that address both emotional and developmental challenges. So, action step number 1, behavioral support plan. Create a plan that outlines specific strategies for each child who exhibit frequent challenging behaviors. We just did this at our center. The plan should include specific triggers. It should include preferred coping strategies such as deep breathing, quiet areas, etc. Also, communication tools like I feel upset when, right? I statements, helping children communicate. I get mad when Johnny doesn't share the red truck. And of course, collaborating with parents to ensure consistency in managing the behavior. And don't get frustrated when the parent says, well, I don't have this problem at home, because there's probably some truth to that. Because if Johnny is at home, he doesn't have to share if he doesn't have siblings. And every toy in the toy box is his. He doesn't have to wait. He doesn't have to share. And so when we ask him to wait, and share with not only one or two, because he may do well in a small group. But when we're asking him to wait for 20 kids to, take a turn and share is a little more difficult. And that's why integrating sharing circles, taking turns through all of your lessons will really help. And you want to do those things before there is a problem. And invest in your team, staff training and reflection. Investing in training sessions where your staff can learn more about emotional development, about trauma, about attachment, and sensory processing. Help them develop a deeper understanding of the behavior so they can respond calmly and consistently. You want to have regular team meetings to discuss individual children and their progress, which we just did this last week. This could be a weekly check-in where staff share their observations, discuss what's working, and adjust strategies as necessary. Encourage your staff to work together and reflect on their approach to each child. And group problem solving is often more effective than handling difficult behaviors in isolation. Maybe even setting up a buddy system where more experienced staff can mentor newer teachers, guiding them through challenging behaviors and providing emotional support. Creating a supportive environment where staff feel comfortable asking for help and advice is a must. Lead by example and demonstrate open communication and empathy. So, if you're ready to get to the bottom of behavior drama, it's time to stop guessing and start understanding. Start observing, tracking, and listening to your kids. With a deeper knowledge, you'll not only help your team thrive, but also create a classroom where kids feel seen, they feel heard, they feel supported. If you want more insights on managing challenging behaviors, sign up for our newsletter and get more expert tips and actionable resources delivered straight into your inbox. So join our community today, connect with other childcare owners who are on the same journey as you. And remember, every challenging behavior is an opportunity to learn more about a child's emotional world and their needs. By observing, tracking, and understanding, you'll build a stronger, more empathetic team and foster a more supportive environment for your children. It's time we get to the heart of the behavior, and with this knowledge, you'll be equipped to make a lasting, positive change. And remember, you got this. Thank you for tuning in to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. See you tomorrow.